Picture a narrow mountain pass, the same place where 300 Spartans once defied the vast Persian Empire. Now imagine that battlefield again, but instead of swords and shields clashing against spears and arrows, 50 US Navy SEALs stand in the gap, armed with rifles, grenades, and night vision gear. On the other side, 8,000 Spartan warriors, forged through fire, discipline, and blood, march forward with their bronze shields and iron resolve. The question sounds simple, but it hits like a thunderclap. Can modern firepower shatter the iron wall of Sparta, or will sheer numbers and relentless discipline overwhelm even the world's most elite modern warriors? As the echo of gunfire collides with the roar of Spartan war chants inside the pass of Thermopylae, two worlds, separated by millennia, face off in a clash that history never intended. The battlefield becomes a time-twisted arena, technology versus tradition, precision versus numbers, survival versus glory. So, who truly writes history at Thermopylae this time? The SEALs with their unmatched firepower, or the Spartans with their unbreakable unity? 1. The forces on each side. To measure the scale of this impossible battle, we need to lay both armies side by side. 50 US Navy SEALs, among the most lethal soldiers alive today, against 8,000 Spartan warriors, legendary products of one of history's harshest military cultures. Navy SEALs are not ordinary soldiers. They are the result of years of brutal training, designed to push humans beyond their limits: underwater demolition, desert survival, urban warfare, parachuting at night, and coordinated strikes in hostile territory. Each man carries state-of-the-art weaponry, many of 4 carbines with advanced optics, sniper rifles capable of hitting targets over a mile away, pistols for close quarters, fragmentation grenades, and body armor built to stop most small arms fire. They communicate with radios, coordinate like a living machine, and fight with precision honed by decades of modern combat doctrine. Their biggest weakness? Numbers. 50 men can only carry so many bullets, and when the ammo runs dry, high-tech firepower turns into cold steel and empty hands. On the other side stand 8,000 Spartan warriors, men who had been trained to fight since childhood. From the age of 7, they were thrown into the agoge, a merciless system that taught them to endure pain, hunger, and fear without complaint. By adulthood, each Spartan was a living weapon, strong enough to march in heavy armor for miles, disciplined enough to fight in perfect formation, and hardened enough to face death without hesitation. Their weapons were simple but devastating in mass: long spears, dory, heavy round shields, hoplon, and short swords, xiphos, for finishing the fight. But their greatest weapon wasn't steel, it was the phalanx. Shoulder to shoulder, shield to shield, Spartans moved as a single wall of bronze and muscle, advancing like an unstoppable tide. One Navy SEAL might mow down dozens of Spartans before they even got close, but 50 SEALs can't shoot forever, and 8,000 Spartans don't break easily. This battle becomes a terrifying race against time. Can modern bullets cut down enough warriors before the phalanx reaches them, or will the Spartans' sheer numbers and discipline crush the SEALs under an avalanche of bronze and blood? 3. The imaginary battlefield, Thermopylae. The stage for this battle isn't just any patch of land, it's Thermopylae, one of the most famous choke points in all of military history. A narrow pass squeezed between the mountains and the sea, only a few dozen yards wide at its tightest point. This isn't open desert where long-range rifles dominate, nor is it urban terrain where ambushes can turn the tide. This is a stone funnel, a killing ground where numbers and discipline once mattered more than anything else. And now, it's about to become the arena where past and present collide. By day, the sun beats down on the rocky cliffs, baking the ground until the air shimmers. Dust hangs in the wind, swirling between jagged stones and the ruins of ancient walls. The Spartans march forward in unison, their shields flashing in the light, the sound of bronze greaves hammering the earth like a war drum. Each step echoes through the pass, 8,000 strong, a living wave of men in red cloaks and iron helmets. Across the gap, 50 Navy SEALs move with quiet precision. They position themselves behind boulders, on ridges, and in makeshift firing lines. The metallic click of magazines locking into rifles punctuates the tension. The SEALs know. This terrain offers them no easy retreat. This is stand and fight, with only the gear they carried in. Overhead, gulls circle the coastline, oblivious to the human storm about to explode below. The rules are clear. No reinforcements, no escape. Just two armies meeting in a place that allows no mercy. The Spartans will not surrender. Their entire way of life is built on the idea that death in battle is the highest honor. The SEALs will not break. Their training demands survival under impossible odds. This is a fight to the last man, to the last bullet, to the last heartbeat. And then there are the twists. The battlefield never plays fair. Thermopylae is infamous for its treacherous winds that whip through the cliffs, blowing dust and grit into men's eyes. A sudden gust could ruin a sniper's shot, or mask the sound of Spartans advancing. The narrow ground itself is both a blessing and a curse. For the SEALs, it funnels the enemy into a confined space, perfect for concentrated fire. But for the Spartans, it prevents the SEALs from using their full mobility, forcing them to stand toe-to-toe against a human tide. Imagine the soundscape, the pounding of war drums, the chanting of Spartan voices rising like thunder in the canyon, crashing against the sharp cracks of rifle fire and the deep booms of grenades. The pass becomes a cauldron of sound, sight, and fear, a place where time collapses. Here, at Thermopylae, technology and tradition finally meet, not in theory but in the dust and blood of battle. 4. The battle begins, opening phase. The pass is silent for a heartbeat. On one side, 8,000 Spartans tighten their shields, their long spears angled forward, phalanxes stacked deep. On the other, 50 Navy SEALs lie in wait, eyes fixed through scopes, rifles steady against their shoulders. The air is heavy with dust and anticipation, until the first shot cracks through the canyon like thunder. A Spartan in the front line drops instantly, his shield clattering against the stones. For a moment, the formation hesitates. Then, more gunfire erupts. Muzzle flashes tear through the haze as the SEALs unleash a storm of lead. Spartans fall in clusters, spears and shields tumbling as bullets punch through bronze and flesh alike. Within seconds, dozens are down. The Spartans have never seen, or even imagined, anything like this. But they do not break. Their discipline holds. The war horns sound, and the chanting grows louder, drowning out the echoes of gunfire. Ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh. The phalanxes advance, slow and steady, shields raised, pressing forward like a living wall. Each fallen man is replaced by another behind him. The SEALs keep firing, their rifles bucking in precise bursts, each round finding a mark. The kill count rises into the hundreds. Yet still, the Spartans come. Grenades arc through the air. Explosions rip through the tightly packed warriors, scattering bodies and shields, throwing dust and blood skyward. For a moment, chaos erupts in the Spartan line. But again, they recover. Their sheer numbers absorb the losses. They tighten ranks, close the gaps, and march forward, their sandals crunching over the bodies of their own fallen brothers. From the ridges above, a SEAL sniper works methodically, each shot dropping another warrior at the edge of the formation. He targets commanders, men carrying standards, anyone who looks like a leader. Each time a Spartan officer falls, confusion ripples through the ranks, but the phalanx presses on. Their training is too deep, their will too unbreakable, to falter so early. Within minutes, hundreds of Spartans lie dead or wounded in the dust of Thermopylae. Yet, for everyone that falls, more step forward. The pass echoes with a clash of ages, the staccato rattle of modern rifles against the relentless thunder of marching feet. The SEALs know this is just the beginning. They are winning the opening exchange, inflicting devastating casualties, but the Spartans are closing the distance. Every second that passes brings the wall of shields closer. Every bullet fired brings their magazines closer to empty. And somewhere in the dust and noise, a dangerous truth is forming. If the Spartans can survive the storm and reach striking distance, the advantage will shift. For now, though, the battlefield belongs to firepower. Thermopylae has become a furnace of death, and the Spartans are walking straight into it. The middle phase, when the distance closes. The opening volleys have torn deep holes in the Spartan ranks. Hundreds lie dead in the dust, their once impenetrable wall of shields cracked and battered by gunfire and explosions. But now, the SEALs face the nightmare every modern soldier dreads in a fight like this, the moment when distance no longer protects them. The Spartans, undeterred by their staggering losses, close the gap step by step. Their spears glint in the harsh sunlight, angled forward like a forest of iron teeth. Shields overlap, forming a wall that soaks up incoming fire. Bullets still cut men down, grenades still blast through their lines, but each detonation is absorbed by sheer numbers. For every warrior who falls, another surges forward. 8,000 is a tide too vast to be turned back by small arms alone. The SEALs are still disciplined. They fire in controlled bursts, switching positions, using cover, and coordinating with one another through radios. They drop men with headshots, pick off officers, and focus fire on weak points in the phalanx. But ammo isn't infinite. Magazines are swapped more often now. Belts of machine gun rounds run lower, and every SEAL knows the math. There are more targets than there are bullets. The Spartans sense it too. Arrows begin to arc through the air, blackening the sky. The weapons are crude compared to rifles, but in mass volleys, they force the SEALs to duck low behind boulders and shields of their own. Javelins whistle overhead, some clattering off rocks, others embedding in the ground just feet away. A few find their marks. One SEAL goes down with a spear through his shoulder, another struck by an arrow piercing a weak spot in his armor. The rhythm of the battle shifts. No longer is it purely one-sided slaughter. The Spartans are in range now, and their ancient weapons begin to draw blood. The canyon fills with the screams of the wounded, the clang of spears against stone, and the relentless war chants of thousands of men who will not stop advancing. Dust and smoke cloud the air, limiting visibility. The SEALs' scopes are less effective in the haze. A sudden gust of wind kicks sand into their faces, blinding some for precious seconds. It's the environment itself, turning hostile, a reminder that in Thermopylae, nature favors no one. The Spartans tighten their phalanx and push harder. Their shields lock, their spears thrust, and soon the distance between the two sides shrinks to mere yards. A few SEALs switch to sidearms and shotguns, preparing for the brutal reality of close quarters. Others hurl their last grenades into the advancing tide, buying seconds at most. What had started as overwhelming firepower is now a grinding war of attrition. For the SEALs, it's a race against time and ammunition. For the Spartans, it's a test of endurance and sacrifice. Every step forward costs them lives, but every step brings them closer to turning the battlefield from a shooting gallery into a knife fight. By the end of this phase, the pass is no longer a clean killing ground. It's a choking hell of smoke, dust, and blood. The SEALs have thinned the Spartan army by thousands, but they are bleeding too. And now, the distance is nearly gone. The battle teeters on the edge of its deadliest stage. The final phase, the turning point, the pass has narrowed to a corridor of bodies and broken shields. The Spartans are almost within spear thrust. The SEALs' firing cadence slows, not for lack of targets, but for lack of rounds. Each trigger press is a choice. A spear tip, a standard bearer, a man bracing to hurl a javelin. Radios crackle with short, clipped callouts. 2 mags lift, 1 frag, shift right, shift right. The roar of the phalanx swells until it feels like the mountain itself is moving, bronze scraping stone in a grinding, inevitable advance. A gust whips through the canyon, a sudden environmental twist. Dust lifts like a curtain, swallowing shapes into a flickering haze. Optics smear with grit, eyes burn, and every shot risks going wide. For a heartbeat, the Spartans vanish, then reappear closer, shields overlapping so tight the seams vanish. The SEALs adapt on instinct. shorter bursts, point shots on exposed ankles and faces, a final grenade tossed low to skip and detonate beneath the shield wall, flipping the front rank like coins. The explosion buys seconds, not salvation. A horn blares from within the phalanx, deeper and more insistent than before. Leadership asserts itself. A Spartan officer, plumed crest bright with dust, steps into the gap, rallying the line with a voice that cuts through chaos. Close. He signals, and the wall tightens. Where the explosion tore space, the Spartans flow inward like water, cohesion reknit by command. The SEAL sniper on the ridge tags the officer with a clean shot, but a deputy surges forward, the cadence uninterrupted. Now it's meters. The SEALs compress into a rough horseshoe, creating overlapping fire into the funnel, while protecting flanks from a wraparound push. Shotguns and pistols appear. Muzzle flashes shift from distant stabs of light to explosive strobes that paint faces, teeth, and helmet crests. A SEAL with a shield ripped from a fallen Spartan braces the front, catching a spear on bronze while his teammate angles a pistol under the rim and fires twice into a shin, then once into a throat. The Spartans feel the give. Their discipline, hammered into bone since childhood, becomes a weapon more lethal than any spear. They chant in time with the shove, a human piston. Shield, step, thrust. Shield, step, thrust. On contact, the pass compresses to pure physics. Mass versus friction, boots grinding over blood-slick stone. A SEAL is dragged down when a spearhead hooks his plate carrier. Teammates haul him back by the drag handle as another man, calm as a surgeon, places a round through the visor slit that yanked him. The rescued SEAL is breathing, barely. Over the radios, a decision rings out. Command scenario in miniature. The SEAL team leader, voice steady, calls a pivot. Break center, collapse left, channel them. It's unorthodox and risky. Instead of meeting force head-on, the line flexes, yielding a narrow lane that tempts the Spartans deeper. The point men surge, sensing collapse. Then the trap snaps. From both sides, concentrated fire rakes the exposed flanks where shields can't cover. It's a brutal surgical ambush executed at arm's length, a modern echo of Thermopylae's oldest lesson: make the enemy's strength a bottleneck. Bodies tumble into the lane, plug it, and still the wave comes. Ammunition is at vapor. A machine gun coughs and falls silent. The last belt is gone. The sniper calls black on the ridge. Pistols lock open. Magazines clatter empty. In the center, a SEAL draws a fighting knife. Another shoulders a scavenged Xiphos, awkward but effective in close. The final grenades go out in a single coordinated volley, a last shimmer of modern thunder rolling down the pass and stalling the foremost rank in fire and shrapnel. Silence lasts the length of a breath. Then the Spartans crash in. Bronze slams polymer. Spears splinter against armor plates, some finding gaps at the armpit or thigh. A SEAL with a broken forearm headbutts through a helmet crest and drives a knife under the chin. Another, out of everything, bull rushes with a captured hoplon, turning it into a battering ram that opens a pocket for two teammates to extract a wounded man. The fight becomes granular, half seconds, half steps, decided by balance, breath, and nerve. A second leadership pulse ripples the phalanx. With officers falling to point-blank shots and knives, a herald takes over, repeating commands with perfect cadence. The Spartans adapt. Rear ranks angle spears over shoulders, stabbing down in concert, while the front locks shields and leans. The SEALs answer with micro-maneuvers, heel hooks to topple shield men, low-line stabs to hamstrings, short elbows that disorient beneath helmets. It's vicious, efficient, and fueled by a clarity that comes when all options are gone. The last stand blooms without ceremony. The SEAL leader calls a final fallback to a choke within the choke, a protruding boulder that compresses the approach to 3 men wide. They stack, 2 with shields taken from the fallen, 1 rotating through the center to strike, then duck. Behind them, the wounded reload whatever can still fire, even a single round scrounged from a half-spent mag. The ridge sniper crawls down, rifle discarded, carrying only a pistol with 3 rounds and the grim gift of experience. For a minute that stretches like a lifetime, the formation works. Each Spartan who steps into the notch meets a storm of short, brutal technique, throat jabs, shield punches, a single pistol crack when it matters most. The pile of bodies rises and shifts, threatening to turn the ground into a trap for the next rank. The Spartans, sensing cost without progress, draw breath and reset. The herald calls a new cadence. 3 spears thrust as one into the gap, tips skipping off bronze and skidding into meat. The left shield dips. A seal buckles, held up by the man behind him, who refuses to let him fall. The sniper spends his last round to drop the herald mid-command. The cadence falters for a crucial heartbeat. The seals push, not to win, but to breathe. Then the press resumes, inexorable. A spear finds a seam. A man grunts and sinks. Another steps into his place without looking down. The line shortens to 2, then 1. The boulder that gave them life becomes the stone against which they finally break. When the phalanx spills past the notch, it is in silence broken only by ragged breath. The Spartans stand amid a landscape they do not recognize. Rifles warped by heat, brass scattered like strange coins, armor of unfamiliar materials cut and gouged, and dozens upon dozens of their own dead stacked in a shape that looks, for a moment, like a barricade. The last seals lie where they chose to stand, weapons empty, hands still blood-black from work done at breath distance. The mountain wind returns, lazy now, carrying grit and the briny smell of the distant sea. A few Spartans kneel, not in triumph, but in shock at what it cost to cross 20 yards of stone. An officer, helmet under his arm, studies the dead men in modern gear and understands only this: he faced warriors who refused to yield to time itself. The pass is theirs, but victory feels like a riddle with no good answer, a weight that will stay with them long after the chanting fades. The conclusion. When the dust finally settles at Thermopylae, the ground is unrecognizable. Piles of shields and bodies choke the narrow pass, the air still heavy with smoke, sweat, and the metallic tang of blood. The Spartans, battered but unbroken, stand victorious in the sense that they remain alive on the field, yet their victory is hollow. The cost is staggering. Thousands of warriors lie dead or dying, and their legendary phalanx has been savaged in a way no ancient army could comprehend. For the Navy SEALs, there are no survivors. Each man fought until his ammunition was gone, until his body gave out, until nothing was left but grit and instinct. In the annals of warfare, this is the kind of stand that would echo as myth. 50 men against 8,000, holding the line for hours, inflicting casualties so severe that the Spartans might question whether the gods themselves intervened. So who wins? If victory is measured by who controls the battlefield at the end, then the Spartans claim it. But if victory is measured by impact, by how many lives a handful of men can take, by how long they can deny a tide of thousands, then the SEALs have achieved something even greater. Technology allowed them to dominate the opening phases, but numbers and endurance slowly strangled that advantage. Thermopylae, as always, favors the many. And yet, the question lingers. What if the fight had happened on open ground, where rifles could reap Spartans from hundreds of yards away? What if it were night, when the SEALs' night vision could turn the battlefield into a one-sided massacre? Or what if the Spartans found a way to encircle them, cutting off even that small hope of maneuver? The truth is simple. Under most conditions, modern SEALs would tear through ancient warriors with horrifying ease. But here, in this cursed choke point where numbers grind technology into dust, the Spartans endure, barely. So we're left with a final question, one that history can never answer but imagination refuses to let go. Who truly deserves the title of Thermopylae's greatest warriors? The 8,000 who survived, or the 50 who refused to surrender?